This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, I'm Dr. Divya from TeenEinstein. In the 8th chapter, Human Health and Diseases. In the last classes and all, we were discussing about health, then different types of diseases and the causative organisms, and then about the symptoms of all these diseases and all, we have already discussed, right? Then we were learning about the control or the preventive measures, what and all, or how to control these diseases or how to prevent these diseases. We had a discussion about all those things. Then beside this personal hygiene, other than this personal hygiene, public health measures like decontamination of water, then proper wastage disposal, all these things are necessary, right, for a healthy condition. Then controlling of these vectors like mosquitoes. Those vectors or mosquitoes, they are acting. Mosquitoes are acting as a vector for which and all diseases, for malaria and all such kind of diseases, for dengue fever. So for such kind of diseases, these mosquitoes are all acting as vector. So to prevent such disease, we need to control these vectors. For the multiplication of these vectors should be controlled. And immunization. Like all these things, there is another important thing, which is immunization. Immunization is just to prevent the disease, right? So in today's class, we are going to start our class with the topic vaccination and immunization. Okay, today we are going to discuss this topic first, vaccination and immunization. So in biology, you are learning about different kind of diseases. In our last class itself, we were discussing about some kind of bacterial diseases, viral diseases, all those things we discussed. So these diseases, they are the unhealthy conditions of the body, right? Our condition, our body condition is not good, or that is called as a diseased condition. So that unhealthy condition, they are not good for body. If one person is not feeling well, we can say that that is the bad condition of this body, and that body, they are not good. These conditions, this diseased condition, that is not at all good for body. So what we need to do for that? We know that prevention, whenever we are getting a disease, after getting disease, going for the treatment, it is not so easy. So better to prevent the disease before getting infection, right? So what we need to do, we know that prevention is better than cure. That means instead of taking treatment for the disease after getting that particular infection, it's better to prevent that, or it's better to avoid such situations which may cause disease. So such disease causing conditions should be avoided. Like we said, unhealthy food we should not eat, or that vectors should be controlled. So it is better to prevent such situations. We can avoid, right? Mainly we need to keep personal and public hygiene, the main thing. So we can avoid unhealthy food. We can avoid that vector multiplication, or we can do proper cleaning, proper wastage disposal, personal hygiene we can follow. So everything we can do. But more than all these things, it's better to prevent the disease. But only with all these things like personal hygiene, public hygiene and all, we can't avoid all diseases. So what we need to do, we need to think more, like there is any preventive measures or preventive methods which is developed by medical science, right? So there comes the importance of vaccination. So mainly by personal hygiene and public hygiene, we can't avoid or we can't prevent all these diseases. So there comes the importance of this immunization or vaccination. So we need to think more. We need to think more that there is any preventive measure or prevention, what we can do for prevention of this disease or how we can prevent ourselves from this disease. So there comes the role of this vaccination. See, when we are not prepared ourselves in advance to prevent one disease. So disease means we know that is an unhealthy situation or unhealthy condition. So if you are not able to prevent one disease in advance, then later it will become very difficult for the treatment or to get cured from that disease, right? So now we are going to discuss about the role of immunization and vaccination because they are the preventive measures or they can prevent the infections. See now, last 2 years you are hearing so many things about COVID, right? Coronavirus disease. So we can take the same example. So it will be easy for you to understand. So during COVID infection in body, you will feel some kind of discomfort or you won't be comfortable. That is some kind of fever will develop, throat infection will develop, all these things. So your mind and body that both won't work properly. Then we may go for treatment, right? If infection is more, we may go for treatment. And even though after that also, we may feel or we may face some kind of issues like some kind of body ache, pain, then hair fall, such kind of severe conditions will come. So infections may completely damage our body or that will damage our body functions. So it's beyond that recovery. After curing also, we may feel this kind of discomfort, right? Like body pain, the common, if you have any idea about like infected people, if you're asking, you will get all this because they'll be having continuous body ache, then breathing issues, then some kind of hair fall will be there. Totally, they'll become so tired. Okay, so their body immunity that affected the body immunity or the body condition is totally damaged. That's the reason for such kind of tiredness and all. So after curing from the disease also, we may feel some kind of difficulties. So in COVID cases, serious lung infections are reported. That lung infection that led to death also. Even so many cases. Every day they are reporting. These many people died. So many samples checked. These many death cases reported like that. So even a person is getting this type of infection, then the chances of spreading is more, right? One person is getting such infections. Then if we are able to cure or if you are able to come out of the disease, then also the spreading chances are more. So preventive measures are necessary. It's very important. These preventive measures are very necessary or very important for such kind of diseases. So to take care of our body, this vaccines and immunization is the best preventive methods, right? See, I'm just trying to point out the uses or the importance of this vaccination. See, usually people will say if COVID cases, if you're taking vaccine, also no use. Again, they are getting the same infection. See, that is not the correct way of thinking. See, if you are getting that immunization or if you are getting that vaccination, the second time, the chances are very less for the second infection. Or by chance they are getting the infection, then also the level of that infection will be very less. Or that infection, you won't get affected so much. So people are not bothered about those. And even a person, if a person is getting such kind of infections or diseases, the chances of spreading is more. So what we need to do to avoid such kind of spreading? So we need to prevent such kind of spreading. So vaccination or that immunization is necessary or very important. Okay. So for COVID also, many companies, you have heard about many companies, right? They have developed vaccine like Covaxin, Covishield. So all these are, now they have completed first and second dose of that, right? So now giving booster dose also. So what is the principle behind this vaccination? They are giving several doses. First dose, second dose. After these many days, you will get the second dose. Then for booster dose, you need to complete these many months. Like that, they are giving. So what is the principle behind this vaccination or immunization? So this vaccination, it is working based on the memory of immune system. Okay. The vaccination is working on the memory, that property, that is a property of our immune system, the memory of our immune system. So in vaccination, what they're doing, they're introducing preparations of antigenic proteins of that pathogen. Okay, the particular pathogen that is causing infection. So they are introducing this antigenic proteins, preparations from that antigenic proteins that is introducing to our body. Otherwise, what they are doing, the weakened or inactivated pathogens, the same disease causing pathogen which is inactivated or they are weakened, and those things, those pathogens are introduced into our body. These are the methods through vaccination. What they are doing, either they are introducing the antigenic proteins, the preparations from that antigenic proteins, those things are getting introduced to our body. Okay. Otherwise, what they will do, the weakened or inactivated pathogen, it is introduced into our body. So when these vaccines are introduced into our body, they are weakened or inactivated pathogens, or they are the antigenic proteins of that particular pathogen. So against this antigenic material, our body will produce some antibody. Okay, our body will produce against that external introduced body, our body will produce some antibody. Got it? Now, in our body, inside our body, already that antibody is producing, right? So when this vaccination is given, it is weakened pathogen or inactivated pathogen or that preparations from that antigenic protein that is introduced into our body. From the same pathogen, antigenic protein preparations are made and that is introduced into our body. So when that weakened pathogen or these antigenic proteins are introduced to our body, against that our body will synthesize antibody. So now inside our body, that antibody is there or that is synthesizing or that is producing, our body is producing antibody against that introduced one. Then during actual infection, when after immunization or after this vaccination, when we are getting actual infection, that antibody produced in our body will work. Okay, when we are getting that vaccination against that, because that is a weakened pathogen or that antigenic protein. So against that, our body will synthesize antibody, and that is there. That antibody is present in our body. Then, when we are getting real infection, again, second time we are getting the COVID infection. Think, already due to that immunization or that vaccination, against that vaccination, that weakened pathogen inside our body, antibody is there, or our body learned how to synthesize or how to fight against this pathogen or that pathogen protein particles of that pathogen, right? So our body has learned how to fight with that. Then during actual infection, that antibody produced inside our body will work and that neutralizes the pathogen. Got it? When actual real infection comes, antibody inside, which is produced inside our body, that will work or that will fight against this pathogen and that will neutralize the pathogen. Okay. So these vaccines do one more thing. What is that? That vaccines forms memory B cells, T cells. Vaccines will do, or vaccines will form memory B cells and T cells. So these cells, they recognize the pathogens which are coming inside our body. They can recognize these pathogens quickly, and if they are exposed to our body before. See, once it is exposed while doing that vaccination, the weakened pathogen or the protein, antigenic proteins are coming inside our body, right? So that time our body is synthesizing antibody. So this vaccination will do, or that will form memory B cells and T cells. What is the role of this memory B cells? See, from that term itself, it's clear. Memory B cells. Those cells can keep that in memory. Okay. And those cells means, again, second time such infections are coming means that B cells and T cells, they can identify what is that and they can fight against that. So, for that invading pathogen, these cells will quickly react because already one time they have that experience. See, one time while going through the road, if there is a stone or something, one time we will go, and by chance we are falling. Second time we will be careful, right? So exactly same like that, we will keep that in memory. So in that road, after 100 meters, some problem is there. Like that we will keep in our memory. So the same way in our body, B cells and T cells, already they have an experience with the vaccination, the same inactivated or weakened pathogen. So when that real infection comes, they'll keep that in memory and they will generate, or they will work and they will produce the antibody and they will fight or neutralizes the pathogen. And keeping all these things in memory, these cells help in the production of antibody to fight against the pathogen. That is the role of T cells and B cells, memory B cells and T cells. These cells keep these things in memory and these cells helps in the production of antibody and they will fight and neutralizes the pathogen, invading pathogen. Got it? So, principle of immunization or vaccination that is based on the property of memory of the immune system. So, based on which principle? Based on the property of memory of the immune system. Based on that, this vaccination is working. So, in vaccination, preparation of antigenic protein or pathogen or inactivated or weakened pathogen, that is vaccine, that is introduced into body. Then the antibodies produced in the body against these antigens that would neutralize the pathogenic agent during actual infection. Okay. Then vaccines also generate memory B cells and T cells, and these memory B cells and T cells can recognize the pathogen quickly on subsequent exposure and they can work against the invading pathogen or they will produce antibodies. There will be a massive production of antibodies against this pathogen. Okay. Then, see, if one person is infected with tetanus, there is an example. Tetanus. You know that tetanus is a serious disease of nervous system. Tetanus is a disease of nervous system. It's a very serious disease and it is caused by toxin producing bacteria. It's caused by toxin producing bacteria, and this disease that causes muscle contraction, mainly neck muscles and jaw. Okay, mainly muscle contraction. It is causing muscle contraction, neck muscles and jaw. So for this disease, we need a quick immune response. See, people have a misunderstanding that if you are getting some injuries with the rusted material, then only this tetanus will come. Actually, that is wrong. It's not like that. So it's a serious disease of nervous system, and that is caused by toxin producing bacterium. If the toxin producing bacterium through some cut or injury, this bacterium will go inside our body. So this disease that will cause muscle contraction, mainly neck muscles and jaw. So for this disease, we need a quick immune response. So we need to directly inject the preformed antibodies or antitoxins. So we used to say, if you are getting such injuries within these many hours, we need to get this vaccine, right? So we need to directly inject the preformed antibodies. See, already we have an idea, this bacterium is causing this disease. So there should be some kind of already developed antibodies. So those antibodies directly we are injecting into our body because we need quick response. We don't have time for keeping our memory. First, we need to give a vaccination. We need to keep it in memory. Then a second response. So that time we won't get. So that this kind of cases like tetanus, we need a quick response. So we need to directly inject the preformed antibodies or antitoxins. Okay. For that bacterium which is producing toxin, we need an antitoxin. Got it? See, for snake bite also we are responding in the same way. For snake bite also patients are getting injections of preformed antibodies against that particular venom. Okay. For that snake poison or particular venom, we are giving injections, preformed antibodies against that particular venom. So this type of immunization that is called as passive immunization. Passive immunization. What they are doing, preformed antibodies or antitoxins are provided directly to our body as vaccine. Okay, this is called as passive immunization. Then recombinant DNA technology. You will learn everything in detail about this recombinant DNA technology in the biotechnology part of 12th standard. So in recombinant DNA technology, what they will do, they are recombining the useful DNA parts. In that chapter, you can learn everything in detail. Recombining the useful DNA parts, whichever part which is useful, that part they are combining. This is new biotechnological method which is very advanced and so many researchers are going on. So they are recombining the useful DNA parts, and that technology, the technology is called as rDNA technology, recombinant DNA technology. In short form, you can write rDNA technology. So with the help of recombinant DNA technology in bacteria or yeast, the production of antigenic polypeptide or pathogen is done. Antigenic polypeptide or pathogen. Sorry, antigenic polypeptide of this pathogen. Why they are choosing yeast or bacteria? Do you have any idea? See, they need production of antigenic polypeptide or antigenic proteins. That's what they need, right, against this pathogen. So what they will do, they'll produce through rDNA technology by using bacteria or yeast, that production of antigenic proteins, or they will do that. Why they are selecting? What is the reason of selection of this bacteria or yeast? Because we have already learned that for microorganisms, this yeast, bacteria and all, their lifespan is very less. So we can produce in bulk, right? The lifespan of this organism is less. So they can produce in bulk quantities by raising many generations. They can multiply very fast. So that helps in the large scale production. And the immunization, that vaccines will be produced in bulk because we need so much, right? This kind of vaccines, we need bulk production. So by using such kind of organisms like bacteria and yeast, because they have very less lifespan and it's easy to study. That's why we are choosing such kind of organism. So, and availability of immunization based on that. So, example from yeast. Yeast hepatitis B vaccine is produced. See, based on the organism, because this should work in that organism. This production should be able to do, that organism should be able to do this kind of production. Then their lifespan, that is also a matter. Then the production, bulk production, whether it is possible or not. All these conditions. Then recombinant technology, whether we can apply this recombinant technology or DNA technology in this organism. Everything matters. Okay. So based on that, the selection of this organism is done. Then if a person is infected with some deadly microbes which quick immune response is required, like tetanus. I said about tetanus, we need to directly inject the preformed antibodies or antitoxins. Okay. In the case of snake bite also, that injection will be given, that particular antibodies against that special snake venom. That's what we are introducing into our body. So this type of immunization is called as passive immunization, and by using rDNA technology, the production of antigenic polypeptide of pathogen. It is done, and for that kind of production, bacteria or yeast, it is used and it is produced. Vaccines are produced in large scale. Okay. Then, for example, we can say hepatitis B vaccine is produced from yeast. Next, we are going to learn about allergies. Allergy. See, if you are going somewhere outside, or if you are eating something, some new things, or some fruits or some kind of things, sometimes you may get sneezing, or you may get some type of bump-like appearance on your skin and all, right? So if you are out of that place, see, I said if you are going somewhere, you may get sneezing and all. So if you are going out of that place, or if you are not eating that particular food item, your symptoms, all these symptoms will disappear. So it's common in most of the people. Because what is the reason? They are sensitive, or they are sensitive to such kind of foods or such kind of particles and all. And hope you have heard about this pollen allergy. Then food allergy and all. We have learned pollen allergy and all. So allergy is nothing but the exaggerated response of our body. Usually for everything our body will respond. So allergy means that is an exaggerated response of our body. Or it is a response, exaggerated response of our immune system. Against what? To some antigen present in the environment. Antigen in the sense, some kind of foreign substances or toxic substances that induces our immune response, or that induces immune response in our body. That is called as antigen. So allergy means that is the exaggerated response of our body, or exaggerated response of our immune system against some kind of antigens. Antigens or some kind of foreign bodies that can induce the immune system or immune response in our body. And what they will do, these allergens or these antigens, they induces the production of antibody. Inside our body, they will induce the production of antibody. Then, these substances, this can, some substances which can raise or which can show such kind of immune response, they are called as allergens. So which is creating such kind of immune response. Such substances are called as allergens. So we have learned about different types of antibodies, right? Different types of antibodies we have discussed. So antibody produced for allergens. Which type of antibody is produced for allergens? They are IgE type. Okay, note down. IgE type antibody is produced for allergens. Okay, not all the type. IgE type is produced for allergens. And which are the common allergens? Like pollen allergy, then animal dander, dust, and some kind of smoke, some kind of food. All these are causing allergies. Then that will show some kind of symptoms like watery eyes, sneezing, breathing difficulty, then runny nose. All these are the symptoms of allergy. So the exaggerated response of immune system to certain antigens present in the environment is called as allergy, and the substance to which such immune response is produced, they are called as allergens. These allergens are creating allergy. Then the antibody, our body will react to that allergens. That antibody produced against these allergens are IgE type. Then dust, pollen, animal dander and all, they are the common allergens. And what are now the symptoms of these allergic reactions? Sneezing, watery eyes, runny nose and difficulty in breathing. Then this allergy, it is due to the release of chemicals like serotonin and histamine. Note down serotonin and histamine, mainly due to the release of these chemicals from the mast cells. Okay. So allergy, that allergic reaction, why it is showing? It is due to the release of chemicals like histamine and serotonin from the mast cells. Do you know what is mast cell? Mast cells are, they are located at the boundaries between tissues and external environment. See, it is located between boundaries between tissues and the external environment, like our skin. Then at mucosal surface of the lung and gut. Mucosal surface of lung and gut. So if you are inhaling that pollens, it is touching on that mucosal surface, right? So it is creating allergic reactions. So that time what will happen? The serotonin or histamines, they are getting, these chemicals are getting released from the mast cells. So that causes allergic reactions. Then in the skin and around blood vessels, mast cells are present. So some kind of food or allergens, if there allergens are coming and touching our skin, bump-like structures here in this picture you can see this kind of red color bump-like structures you can see. Then mast cells are also called as mastocyte. Note down mast cells. It is having one more name, mastocyte. So it's a part of immune system and neuroimmune system. This mast cells are, it's mainly a part of immune system and neuroimmune system. So this is having, or this is containing many granules which are rich in histamine and heparin. Okay, all these extra points are for your NEET exam. This is mast cells. Just you have to learn for your board exam. Allergy is due to the release of chemicals like histamine and serotonin from the mast cell. That much only you need to learn for your board exam. But what is mast cell or what and all it will release, and it is a part of the immune system and neuroimmune system. So this contains many granules that is rich in histamine and heparin. All these things, all these points are for your NEET exam. Then how we will determine the cause of allergy, or how doctors are finding out what is the cause of this allergy. So to find out or to determine the cause of allergy, the patient is injected with very small dose or minute dose of all possible allergens. So we'll say about the symptoms of our allergic reactions and all, right? If you're consulting a doctor, we will explain about all the symptoms and how we are feeling. So all these things. So based on that observation, they will inject very small dose of all possible allergens into our body, and they will study the reactions. So based on the observations, they'll determine the cause of that allergy. Okay. Then which and all drugs we will use for the treatment? The drugs like adrenaline and antihistamine. Adrenaline and antihistamine. These are, then some kind of steroids also we used to take for this allergic reaction. All these drugs, they will reduce the allergic symptoms. Usually, doctors will suggest some kind of steroids for skin allergy and all. So, all these like adrenaline, antihistamine, and steroids, all this will reduce the allergic symptoms. Okay. So, in modern life, nowadays you can see most of the kids or their children, they are having some kind of allergies like food allergies. They'll start early morning, they will sit and start sneezing, such kind of things, because they have very low body immunity or they can't withstand with this kind of allergens. So it is due to the change in lifestyle. From the old days, we have changed a lot. Our lifestyle has lot of changes because our food habits have changed. Nowadays, what kids will eat, they have Maggi, snacks, biscuits, all those items they will eat, right? So such kind of food that won't be healthy for our body. So we are losing our body immunity, or we don't have good immunity. So that is affecting, or that is also a reason. So due to the environmental sensitivity in metro cities, more children have allergies and some kind of asthmas. Okay, it's due to the conditions, because in earlier life they were provided with protected life. That means they are not exposed to environment much. Okay, in villages and all, kids don't have such problems because they are exposed to the nature. In metros and all, always inside this house or room, they are not exposed, and pollution is more. That is there, one thing. But they are not exposed to the nature. That's why they have more allergic problems. Then, next is autoimmunity. Autoimmunity means this is the condition in which a system of immune response of an organism, it is against its own healthy cells or healthy tissues and other normal body constituents. Don't get confused. Autoimmunity means in that condition, a system of immune response. An organism will be having a system of immune response. So that system of immune response is against its own healthy cells. That an organism, it is having immune response or a basic system of immune response. Their body immunity, it will work. There is a systematic way of immune response. But some cases that organism immune response or immune system will work against that organism's healthy cells or healthy tissues or other normal body constituents. Such kind of situations are there. So any disease which is resulting from that type of immune response, that is called as autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease. What is autoimmune disease? Sometimes a normal organism, it is having a normal immune response. Sometimes the immune system of the body of that organism, it will work against its own normal body cells or tissues and other body constituents. Okay, so such diseases, any disease which is coming or resulting from this type of immune response, that is called as autoimmune response, because it is spoiling the healthy cells and healthy tissues and all. So that may cause some kind of disease or damage to the body. So that due to that healthy cell damage, our body will get some kind of disease. Such kind of diseases are called as autoimmune disease. So when the immune system is unable to discriminate between self and non-self antigen, or it is not able to identify its own cells and the foreign bodies. Because the immune system definitely, when a foreign body is entering, it will produce antibodies to kill that foreign body or to neutralize that foreign body, right? So against the foreign body, it will raise some kind of antibodies. But if it is against a foreign body, means okay, our body won't get any damage. But that time, that immune system is not able to identify whether that is their own cell, own healthy cell, or a foreign body. So that time, without knowing or without identifying that whether it is a pathogen or a foreign particle or its own healthy cell, our immune system is producing some kind of antibodies to fight against that foreign particle or that healthy cell. So if it is not a foreign particle or a pathogen, it is killing its own healthy cell. Okay, so that damages the cell, and that's how some kind of diseases are getting developed. So these antibodies destroys all cell antigen bearing cells, right? They're healthy cells, it is getting destroyed. So that destroys good cells. So memory based acquired immunity that evolved in higher vertebrates, that based on the ability to differentiate pathogen and the cells. See, in higher organism, they have in their immunity, they have the capacity to differentiate between whether it is a pathogen inside, whatever is entering inside our body, whether it is a pathogen or not, or that is a healthy cell. They have, higher vertebrates have the capacity to differentiate. So still we don't know how these higher vertebrates can distinguish the foreign molecule as well as the foreign organism. That memory based identification, how it is happening, still research studies are going on. Then second thing is that sometimes due to some genetic reasons or by some other reasons, the body attacks cells. See, sometimes due to some genetical issues or some kind of other reasons, cells are getting attacked by this immune system, and that damages the body. If cells are getting, good cells are getting damaged, body will get affected, right? So this condition only we said autoimmune disease. So how these autoimmune diseases are getting developed, or the reasons? What are the reasons for that? So researches are going on this topic also, these two topics. So such autoimmune disease, we said an example, first one is rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune disease. This is commonly seen autoimmune disease in our society, rheumatoid arthritis. So that we don't know, still we don't know in higher vertebrates how they are distinguishing the, or how they are differentiating the, or how memory based differentiation of this pathogen and on cell it is taking place, or how the cells are getting, or the good cells are getting damaged. Sometimes we are saying due to some genetic reasons or some other reasons, they attack cells also, or how it is getting damaged, or what is the reason behind this autoimmune diseases. An example for common autoimmune disease which is seen in our society is rheumatoid arthritis. Got it? Next is immune system. Immune system in our body. See, immune system in our body, immune system consists of antibodies, tissues, cells, lymphoid organs, all these things. So human immune system consists of lymphoid organs, tissues, cells, and soluble molecules like antibodies. So what are all included in the human immune system? Lymphoid organs, tissues, cells, and soluble molecules like antibodies. Okay, so immune system is unique. Why it is unique? Because that can recognize the pathogen or the foreign antigen, and the immune system responds to such foreign bodies, right? Immune system is able to recognize a foreign body or pathogen which is entering inside our body, right? They can differentiate the cells between cells which are present inside or a foreign particle which is entering inside, and that is our cell or not, or inside the body what and all present or which is coming from outside. Our immune system is able to recognize that. So not only that response, that keeps this in memory. We said memory B cells and T cells. They are keeping that in memory also, right? Based on that principle only, vaccination. That is the principle behind vaccination and immunization. So immune system, they have important role in autoimmune diseases. We said now, due to some genetic reason and some other reasons, sometimes it is not able to identify whether it is a foreign particle or it is a pathogen or it is their own cell. So that ability it is losing sometimes. So because of that, autoimmune diseases are developing. So allergic reaction. Immune system is having important role in autoimmune diseases, allergic reactions, and organ transplantation. Right? Allergic reaction, we said some allergens are entering inside our body. Our body is showing some kind of inflammations or reactions, allergic reactions. Or sometimes it is showing some bump-like projections on your skin, or you will have some kind of allergic reactions like sneezing, watery eyes, runny nose, or such things and all. So all these, our immune system is responding. Then about the role of immune system in allergy and autoimmune disease, we have already told, right? Just now I discussed about the role of immune system in autoimmune disease, then allergy also we have discussed. Then the third one which here we have mentioned is role of immune system in organ transplantation. How our immune system is working in the case of organ transplantation. Because in immune system that plays important or critical role in organ transplantation. How? This rejection and acceptance. Rejection or acceptance of the transplanted part or transplanted organ. It is based on the immune response or immune system. Whether immune system is accepting that transplanted part or rejecting that transplanted part. Sometimes this transplantation will be like liver transplantation all people used to do, right? Sometimes it will be a successful story. Sometimes that may fail also. So how? Based on what it is working? It is based on the acceptance or rejection of our immune system. So if rejection of a transplant or a transplanted organ occurs, in that case, the immune system identifies the transplant as a foreign particle, right? Whenever a foreign particle is entering inside our body, that causes or that creates immune response. Our immune system is identifying that as a foreign particle and that will fight against, right? Or it will produce antibody. So for a foreign particle, if a transplant is identified as a foreign particle, that triggers the response. That triggers the response of the immune system. And what that immune system will do? That immune system will produce some kind of antibody or some kind of response, and finally that destroys the transplanted tissue or transplanted organ. Got it? So how it is working? When an organ is transplanted, our immune system will identify whether it is matching with our body or it is not matching, or it is like a foreign pathogen or foreign particle. It is identifying that transplanted part as a foreign particle that will fight against that part or that triggers the immune response, and that's how it will damage the transplanted tissue or organ. The rejection is our immune system is rejecting that part. Okay. If it is working normal, means our immune system is accepting it. Otherwise, our immune system is rejecting and destroying that part. That is the rejection. Clear? Then we said human immune system that consists of lymphoid organs, then tissues, cells, and soluble molecules like antibodies. Right? So we'll see one by one. Lymphoid organs. Okay, lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organ means in lymphoid organs, the lymphocytes will get the origin and they will mature and proliferation of this lymphocyte. Everything occurs in lymphoid organs. The origin and maturation, then proliferation. All these things of lymphocytes that occurs in lymphoid organs. Bone marrow and thymus. Bone marrow and thymus, these are the, here you can see thymus and bone marrow. These are the primary lymphoid organs. Which are the primary lymphoid organs? Bone marrow and thymus. These are the primary lymphoid organ. The immature lymphocytes, they will differentiate into antigen sensitive lymphocytes. Okay, the primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus. In bone marrow and thymus, immature lymphocytes will be there. Then these immature lymphocytes, they will differentiate or they will form antigen sensitive or they will become antigen sensitive lymphocytes. Okay, then after maturation, that lymphocytes will move or they will migrate to secondary lymphoid organs. From primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus. So after maturation, this from the primary lymphoid organs or from bone marrow and thymus, these lymphocytes will migrate to secondary lymphoid organs. Which are the secondary lymphoid organs? Lymph nodes, tonsils, spleen, Peyer's patches of small intestine and appendix. They will move to lymphocytes after maturation. From primary lymphoid organs, they will move to secondary lymphoid organs. Which are the secondary lymphoid organs? Lymph nodes, spleen, tonsils, Peyer's patches of small intestine and appendix. These are the secondary lymphoid organs. So after maturation from primary lymphoid organs, lymphocytes will move to secondary lymphoid organs. Then these secondary lymphoid organs, they will provide the chance for this lymphocyte to interact with the antigen. So there in the secondary lymphoid organ, lymphocytes will get a chance to interact with antigen. Okay, which then proliferate to become effector cells. Okay, so from the secondary lymphoid organ, in primary lymphoid organ, they're just immature lymphocytes, they will differentiate. Okay, and they'll become antigen sensitive in the primary lymphoid organs. Then after maturation, then they'll become mature there. And after maturation from the primary lymphoid organ, the lymphocytes will migrate or they will move to the secondary lymphoid organ. In the secondary lymphoid organ only, a face-to-face interaction of a lymphocyte and antigen it is taking place. So then they will become, from there they will become an effector cell. Got it? Then the bone marrow we said the main lymphoid organ. In bone marrow, all blood cells, including lymphocytes, they are produced. Bone marrow is the main lymphoid organ, primary lymphoid organ we said. So in that, all blood cells and lymphocytes are produced. So then we said another primary lymphoid organ, that is thymus. Thymus is here. This is the structure of bone marrow. Here, all blood cells are getting produced and including lymphocytes. And lymphocytes is also produced inside this bone marrow. Then thymus. What is thymus? Thymus is a lobed organ. You can see here thymus. It is a lobed organ. Thymus is located near heart. It is located near heart and it is beneath the breastbone. Okay, it is beneath the breastbone and it is located near to heart, thymus. So thymus, it's in during birth time, the thymus will be large. Okay, here you can see birth time thymus will be large, but by the time of puberty, the size will reduce. Okay, puberty time, the size will reduce and it will become small size. The birth time, it will be large and the size will reduce. Later, the size will reduce. So both bone marrow and thymus, they will provide micro environment for the development and maturation of T lymphocytes. So bone marrow and thymus, these will provide micro environment for the development and maturation of T lymphocyte. Got it? Next is spleen. Spleen, you can see it is a large bean-shaped organ. Spleen is a large bean-shaped organ that mainly it is having lymphocytes and phagocytes. Lymphocytes and phagocytes. So it is acting as a filter of blood. Okay, the spleen, it will act as a filter of blood and it will trap the blood-borne microorganisms. Spleen will work as a filter of blood and it will trap all the blood-borne microorganisms. Then in spleen you can say that is acting as a reservoir, large reservoir of erythrocytes. Large reservoir of erythrocyte. But here you can see bone marrow and thymus that will provide microenvironment for the development and maturation of T lymphocyte. But spleen that is large reservoir of erythrocytes. Then lymph nodes. Lymph nodes, they are small solid structures. Lymph nodes are small solid structures located at different points along the lymphatic system. Here you can see the lymphatic system. These are lymph vessels. So along with the lymph vessels, you can see the nodes here. Lymph nodes, these dotted structures, these are the nodes. Here neck, the cervical lymph nodes you can see. This neck portion. Cervical lymph nodes and armpit, axillary lymph nodes you can see here. Axillary lymph nodes. Then these dotted structures you can see, these are the lymph nodes. So lymph nodes, they will serve to trap the microorganism or antigens. These antigens are microorganisms, they which are present in the lymph fluid or the lymph tissue fluid. Okay, this which are the microorganisms which are present in the tissue fluid or in the lymph. These organisms are trapped or these organisms are trapped in the lymph nodes. Then antigens trapped in the lymph nodes, they are responsible for the activation of lymphocytes which are present and they will cause the immune response. We said lymphocytes are present, right? So these lymphocytes will get activated when a microorganism, when an organism is trapped or antigen, not microorganism in the sense, some antigen or the foreign particle, it is getting trapped into the lymph nodes. So against that, the lymphocytes are getting activated and the immune response will be created there. Okay. So this lymphoid tissue also located within the lining of the major tracts, respiratory tract, digestive and urogenital tract. So lymphoid tissue is also located within the lining of major tracts, like which are the major tracts, respiratory, digestive and urogenital tract. All these places lymphoid tissues are located. So these major tracts which are called as mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. that constitutes about 50% of the lymphoid tissue in human body. Okay, so lymph nodes, lymphocytes are present. So antigens, when antigens are getting trapped, that will create or that will activate the lymphocytes, and that causes immune response. Got it? So here lymph nodes, you can see these lymph nodes are small solid structures that are located at different points of lymphatic system. So clear? That's about the immune system and lymphoid organs, different lymphoid organs. So hope it's clear about the immune system. Up to this, everything is clear. Do you have any doubt? Is it clear? Please go through these portions, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me in the next class. So next class we will continue. Thank you.